What is up? Welcome back to the On the Burst podcast. I'm your coach, Brandon Savage, and I'm joined by my assistant coach, Timothy Moody, the boogeyman. Harbour the booger.
Yeah, energy, more energy. Yeah, good, bro. You judge me, I
didn't ask how you... Oh, did I?
I don't know.
Yeah, no, I did.
Maybe.
I did.
Either way, I'm all right. Yeah.
A bit sick over the weekend.
Oh, yeah, big time, mate. I've been on my deathbed for the last week and just dragged myself out for super coach purposes.
We did have an event at Drink West Brewery. You probably would have listened to the podcast if you did listen to Super Coach
we won't
podcast.
rave on about it too much, I guess.
But tell us something that happened on the day that was quite interesting.
Interesting.
Anything that you didn't touch on in the last podcast with the event on Saturday that you can touch on?
Interesting. Yeah, geez. Oh, it's a tough one.
I've actually got a story. So, obviously we hosted the day. We had to do a lot of talking on stage to a room full of people.
Packed, lining up out the streets.
Full is in quotation marks. I held myself pretty good, I guess. Like I was a bit worried I'd get too drunk to talk on stage towards the end. But nobody kind of noticed how drunk I actually was. Like I drank quite a bit.
Until you spilled a drink.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's what I was getting to. So Had's actually said to Grant, he goes, I think Savs is pissed, eh? And then Grant says, no, I don't think he is. They turn around and then all they hear the next minute is a glass smash on the ground, and there's me cleaning up the glass.
Yeah.
So that was pretty funny. We had Malachi Watini-Zalesniak come and speak. He actually was really good around the crowd.
Like, very down to earth, isn't he?
He was speaking to everybody. He was like treating everybody like he was genuinely interested in what people had to say. Like you're speaking to the punters out there who we didn't even know. So good stuff. Anything to report?
Yeah, not particularly. Just if I will recommend like big tanks full of beer being cooled. I wasn't prepared for the temperature. I thought,
you think it was cold?
Yeah, it was cold in there for me.
Yeah.
So I just went. I had to pop out and get a.
You drove home and got a jumper. Yeah. I actually I wore a t-shirt most of the day. Then towards the end, I got my jumper from my car. Okay, so we're gonna do it a little bit differently today. We're gonna recap the weekend's games. Obviously not gonna do a full review, but we're gonna talk about each game, just key moments that we think happened and how we think that went. So the Rabbitohs played the Melbourne Storm on the Thursday night. Timmy, what's your key takeaway from this game?
Yeah, just the Storm just haven't really sort of put it all together. They're sort of not really playing Storm kind of footy, you know what I mean? They're letting teams into games and making uncharacteristical mistakes, and you can see the frustration on Bellamy. But I think one thing that I've sort of maybe put it down to, and maybe even you could say the same for the Panthers, is just that they've both been aware of this matchup that's coming this weekend. They've got to be on that. So maybe that's just having, an eye on week ahead and, sort of not being 100% in the moment and, with focusing on the task at hand. So I think that the Storm and the Panthers, my expectation is they're probably going to really sort out those errors, and I think this will be a really high quality footy game.
Yeah, I think the Storm have been disappointing over the last 2 weeks, but I have heard a lot of reports saying that the Storm up their training this time of year and they really ease off maybe a week or two before the finals. So when the finals come, they're rock hard fit for when finals come. But the fact they got away with a win here, it's a plus as well. I think. What are your thoughts on Jerome Hughes and Cameron Munster? I think Jerome Hughes had an outstanding season, but Cameron Munster, I feel like he's got to play more like a Tyron Wishart rather than being a guy who is a fifth tackle option on any given occasion. He can be that fifth tackle option, but I just think Munster has to turn into the second fiddle and doesn't have to be the guy that is, just controlling that left edge.
It's a funny pick. I sort of, when I watch Tyron Wishart play, I feel like plays a bit like Cam Munster. You know what I mean? So I feel like then to ask Cam Munster to play like Wishart, who's then plays like Cam Munster, it's a bit of a paradox we're in there. But I think that's just a part of him trying to slip into a side that's been working as a machine. That's the Storm are a very machine style sort
Yeah.
of way. And although they play with him and know how to play with him, it's just obviously he's a little bit different. You can see when Wishart comes in how good he's going there for him too. So I'm sure he'll sort that out. He's just been, even just in the post and pre-conferences and the chats and stuff, just sort of been a bit tentative and aware that he was sort of like, I come in return and the side loses, and I'm a bit worried about that. So it seems like maybe he's just feel like he's treading on shoes. I think Cam Munster just needs to go, I'm Cam Munster and I'm back, and just not worry about too much of treading on shoes. Just take his moments. That's what he does. He plays eyes up footy. Let him take. This is what he needs to do, man. He'll get it right by the finals. Hey?
Yeah, I just think with how good Jerome Hughes has gone this year, I would love to see him play more like a second type of fullback. I'd love to see him sweep on the right. I'd love to see him just Jerome Hughes sweep on the left, and just let him be there for the backline plays and not kind of be that first pass kick to the corner. Like, I want him not to be thinking and just run first. He can obviously, like, his kicking game's great, but what I think he needs to go back to run first. And I'm not knocking him at all. The Storm are top on the ladder, but I just think, like, for him to have the best effect, like, run first. But he's an NRL player. I'm just a dude on a microphone who has like 5 listeners. So. The Sharks play the Titans, and the Sharks won 44-0 at home. I was not expecting this at all.
No, I mean, I was looking at this one going, I reckon the Titans might win this one. And then I looked at the to place a bet, and I was like, Titans are quite heavily favourite. And I was surprised by that. I was aware that the Sharks had, a few players out there in their halves, and I thought, and they were playing away, and it was at the Titans' home ground, so maybe that's a bit of it. And the Titans have been playing pretty well. I didn't think they'd be that strong of a favourite. But then for the Sharks just to come out, I think we sort of touched on the Supercoach podcast, I think they just kept it simple without having, organising halves, and just played very direct, straight through the middle, played very fast. And the Titans just were not ready for it and weren't able to sort of get back on top. They were playing slow, making mistakes, and just, so very impressive by the Sharkies. Very annoying. Having a punt on it thought it was going to be. I actually thought the Sharkies were going to get smashed in this one.
Yeah, so did I.
I thought there was a chance that this one was just going to, go the wrong way for them.
I agree. The Sharks, without Trindle and Hines, go down to Melbourne, beat Melbourne in Melbourne.
Sure.
44-0 against the Titans, who have won 5 of their last 6. I don't want to ask the question because I know the answer is no, but the Sharks a better side without these two, or do these two just need to play to their strengths and play off the back of this forward pack who just seems to dominate teams anytime they're out?
Maybe it's just that when they don't have those other players, they, like as we just touched on, they just
Everyone lifts.
They're lifting and they're keeping it a lot more simple. And I've just noticed, like recently, like just even sort of other people, like commentators picking up and just going, rugby league's a pretty simple game. All you need to do is, hold onto the ball, run hard, make your tackles go straight. And sometimes you complicate it and stuff. So, I think if you can just play that high percentage game where you're holding onto the ball, trying to keep the other teams down in their end and forcing them to make the first mistakes and then capitalising on that while you're down in their end. It's a simple way to play footy, and I think that's what they've done in those situations.
It's funny, you look at this game, you see all the try scorers. Who would you actually say had the best game out of all this?
In the Sharkies game?
Yeah.
Well, I thought Brayley was pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Just the way he was sort of like, he was playing a bit between both halfback and hooker. Even when he was in hooker, it was he was directing the side around. McInnes would come in and play as a first receiver, but he was just, basically distributing.
He was kind of already doing the role he was as a first receiver. Like, it's either run or pass as a lock. But with Brayley, a lot of the time he was jumping out and kind of getting himself in a position where he was the halfback.
Yeah, and it wasn't like he was relying on someone to go, now I got the ball now. He was just 100% every time. It's you, you go there. And it was basically that. So it worked. It's unique. Like, you don't see that as much, I think there's been a bit of that in the past of like where you'd have a real controlling hooker that, I guess you could say to an extent Cam Smith can be a bit like that at his times in different games and stuff like that. Especially when they didn't have, when that halves would be out, he could do that quite well.
I guess with these performances, Melbourne and Titans, where does that leave Daniel Atkinson in the pecking order for the Sharks for you? Like, do you feel like Atkinson should be playing alongside Hines?
I think he might be a victim of his versatility. You know what I mean? Because he is so versatile and you can, plug him in the half, plug him on the wing. They've stuck him at fullback. I think they've stuck him really everywhere.
Well, he came through as a fullback.
Yeah, I think maybe just those sorts of players that do have that about them, you want to go, if they're playing real well, you might want to stick them in that main position, but because then what it offers the side to put him in that, utility role. Because especially when you can't often use that other, like what do you do with Trindle then if he just drops out the side sort of thing? So, I guess so from that point, that's where I'm at.
Okay. I think Hines and Atkinson is probably the best combination, and then when Hines is injured, Trindle comes in. That's a perfect replacement, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I think Atkinson goes good and he goes all right. I just don't have enough. I need to see more of him to really feel like he's a full-time, first-grade main half playmaker in a side.
It's not necessarily him. It's just how the team goes. And I think
from that dynamic.
Yeah, I just think team balance is very important sometimes. And if you've got like two halves, like
overcalling, or
like Nathan Cleary and James Maloney works a lot differently to Nathan Cleary and Jerome Luai. I would say James Maloney's a better player, but Jerome Luai and Nathan Cleary are the better combo. But we've seen like Luai has it in him to be the main guy. So interesting to see how they go at the Tigers next year. But speaking of Luai, the Panthers get up to the Parramatta Eels 36-34. Looking pretty grim early. Parramatta absolutely dominated. There was a point there where Jerome Luai came out of the in-goal and tried to ground it on the outside and then lost it. And then I'm pretty sure it was Will Penasini grounded the ball after that. I think at that point I was just like, Jesus Christ. And then Penrith came back and then Parramatta scored through Gutho once again. With
12 minutes to go. And that's when I'd put a line to it. It's like I did in the grand final and was like, this one we'll have to take the L on this one. And then you look at the clock after they do it and you go, hold on.
Yeah.
there was like a bit over 12 minutes to go and the situation was more than 2 tries. They need to score 3 times.
Yeah, well, Gutho scored in the 68th minute after Penrith scored in the 63rd. So I think you thought, the comeback's on, and then it was off straight away. Then they scored in the 73rd, and you're like, okay, you get another one here, then you're in. Taruva in the 75th, and then you're like, okay, there was like 3.5 minutes, 4 minutes to go when that happened. But Nathan Cleary needed to kick a goal to tie it when Taruva scored. He missed it, which is crazy because in one of our charts, I was talking about how clutch Cleary was, and he's kicked all these goals that we don't even talk about because he just
still
kicks
human.
them.
Yep,
he just kicks them. But then they obviously come out and score that.
Doing better than I won't shit on him. No, I was going to say there's another bloke who's kicking goals, but we won't shit on him. He's copped enough.
For the Warriors?
Yeah.
I saw a TikTok the other day of just bagging him out, just saying how awkwardly he kicks it. I remember before he left and had the year off last year, I don't remember him kicking the goals this awkwardly. Like, it just his run up and everything about it is so awkward. But I'm not here to shit on him. Isaac Tungo scores a try in the 76th minute, and Nathan Cleary slots.
All the tries were so great, though. Like, I love that individual try. I don't reckon many wingers do that. It was just, that was great. And then, even Tago with like getting knocked down, getting back up, and just slamming it down. Him and going a bit off topic of him, but I just really love those smaller body centres like him and Stagg, similar sort of stocky sort of shape. How they've just got that ability just to sort of they're so like low centre of gravity, and if they get knocked over, they almost just get back straight to their feet, and they've both done it a fair bit.
Their balance is so perfect. I love that. Do you think that
poor Para, because their fans were you could see them in the stadium. They were having a good old time, like a real. I wasn't there, but I mean on TV, on television, you could see how much of a good time they were all having, and then Penrith just did it again.
They did. That last play, Isaac Tungo, was it an obstruction?
I remember in the chat going, oh, like, yay, Penrith, they're about good, whatever chats, exciting Penrith comment, get it up, yeah, whatever. And then going, oh, please don't pull this up. And I sort of watched a little bit on I don't know. Oh, it was actually a TikTok where they they showed the people talking through it in the bunker.
Yeah, did you see that?
And there was like the feet, the collision of the feet between Blaze Tulungi and Liam.
Yeah, so
Martin.
Blaze Tulungi made a defensive decision, and his feet collided with Liam Martin's, which made him trip over.
Yeah.
And then he tripped over into the player who was going for the tackle.
I'm probably always going to look at a bias, but you never know with these obstructions. You never know which way. And I'm not the best at reading them a lot of the time. Some people in the chats will be like, this one to get through. And I can never really tell a lot of the time which way they're going to go with it.
Yeah, I don't know my thoughts on it because, like, if it's pulled up, you're like, oh, I get it.
Yeah.
It's called like that 7 times out of 8.
I think it was maybe a 50-50, but, as a Penrith fan, I'm probably going to look at it from bias.
Parramatta fans can't complain about that decision, though. They had every chance to win this game.
Well, that's right. You've got to look at it from that perspective, too.
Clint Gutherson got a penalty from 40 metres out. Pretty much same situation as the Tigers game early on. Feel sorry for him because not a full-time kicker. I think he's a pretty good kicker.
Yeah.
But just not being able to nail their moments and, yeah, pretty harsh on him because he had a blinder.
Sure.
All right, 3 p.m. game, Manly play the Raiders, and this was the Manly show. Obviously, the Raiders showed up pretty early, but I guess Luke Brooks, Tommy Turbo, DCE had a field day.
Yeah, I remember going into this game having a really strong belief in the Raiders were going to start strong, lead at halftime, but Manly had come back and win 1-12. Just with Manly had started a bit slow over the last couple of weeks, and on the flip side, Raiders had started quite strong, and they did score two of the first 3 tries. With Papali crossing early, which was great for him in his 301 or his 300th game celebrated back home. So good for him. But yeah, I guess Manly just too good. I thought that it might be tighter and lower scoring, just with Raiders rallying. But it just shows how Manly had just got their attacks just ruthless from all over the park, and they're a threat.
Do you think I wouldn't say their attack's the best in the comp, but is it up there?
Yeah, I mean, because they can attack from any point. Like they'll throw it around like in their own end and just make tries happen. Just the speed on the outside and then just the way they're able to support and back up with each other and stuff. I think, it's up there for sure.
I've got this. I was going to speak about it later, but let's just integrate it with the games. But do you think Tommy Trbojevic has any chance of winning the Dally M medal?
Yeah, I do.
So
I didn't think so.
Yeah, but you saw what I sent you, did you? So before it went behind closed doors, he was on 21 points. The person who was leading was Dylan Edwards on 31, Nico Hines on 30. Daly Cherry Evans was on 27, so I reckon Daly Cherry Evans has a hot chance as well since they've won games. And, Tommy Turbo polled most of the points, but Cherry Evans won't be far behind most of the time. Teddy was on 23 points. I reckon Teddy's probably the favourite. I don't know if Hughes can come home with it. I think for a solid period, he was a good chance, but I don't think he's going to finish the season strong enough.
The thing is with Jerome Hughes, the Storm will win nearly every game, and he's probably the better player in their side more often than not, too, especially with, Pappy hasn't been there and not been great, fantastic in a lot of them, and then Muntz has not been there, and, Harry Grant, who else is there? So I think he might have just sneakily got points, even in those games where he wasn't, he could have been the best player still.
But like Tommy Trbojevic, 21 before it went behind closed doors, came back versus the Cowboys. Manly beat the Cowboys by 2 points, and he wasn't really a factor there. He played centre. But then he comes out the next week, and then he plays Newcastle. Has a field day. Has an absolute field day. Multiple try assists and a try. So that's probably 6 points. That takes him to 27. Then next week, he puts on 4 try assists, 5 try assists against the Gold Coast Titans. It's another 6 points.
Comes back a bit the week after, though, I think.
Yeah, so that's 33 points. Then comes back against the Roosters. They have a bye. And then on the weekend, you'd say you reckon another 6 points?
I didn't watch this game as close as what I normally do other games because I was
Yeah.
at this event on the weekend with you, and having chats to people and stuff like that. It's not as how close as what I watch it when I'm at home, but yeah, from what I've caught of it, I would say that he was all over it.
He's probably on 37 points at least, with a draw of the Warriors at home this week and then the Tigers next week, and then they play the Bulldogs and the Sharks. So he'll need to absolutely come home hot.
There's something about these players that have been out for a long parts of the season, but go on sort of runs. But I think when you think of Tommy, I think him being out for more of the season than what he actually was. He's actually played quite a lot of games at the start of the season.
Well, I think because voting went behind closed doors in round 12, he was already out for 4 weeks. He was on 21 points. I think that shows how much he's being favoured when he is playing.
Yeah.
With these massive games he's having, he's every chance to take it home. I think Teddy's going to do too much because he was on 23 before it went behind closed doors. But also, Teddy's got Sam Walker, Jared Crichton, Connor Watson, Manu, Dom Young, all taking points away from him when they have massive games.
Yeah. Sam Walker probably the main one where he's had particularly good games and as a playmaker as well. Yeah.
I think especially in the last 2 weeks, Sam Walker probably polled better than Tedesco.
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
But yeah, I think that race is going to be hot to end the season. The Broncos played the Cowboys and the Broncos put 42 on the Cowboys. Katoni Staggs, absolute weapon. Not much to say about this game, to be honest. I just think the Broncos finally came out, showed some ticker, and
I think the pressure was taken off them a bit too. Now that with Haas out and all of that as well,
no expectation
of making the 8. Now it's just kind of let's just go out and play some footy.
And on the other side of the park, all the pressure is in the world on the Cowboys.
Exactly,
they're playing for a top 4 spot, but I think they'll bounce back. Nothing to worry about. The
Tough game this weekend, Raiders.
Sorry?
Tough game this weekend against the Raiders, I reckon.
Yeah, for sure. The Dragons play the Bulldogs on Saturday night, and
Big build-up.
Bronson Sherry a double. Toby Sexton, absolute weapon. Great short kicking game. I don't know what to say. I just think it's kind of what we expected from both teams, to be honest. It played exactly how I thought it would, and I don't think any team is worse off than what I thought they were, or either team is better off than I thought they were. I just think the Bulldogs are probably just waiting for the finals to see how they're properly tested.
Where they fare, yeah. They're building really, really strongly. I think they might be sort of, people's sort of second team at the moment. If your team's not in the finals, you're kind of probably rooting for them to see how they go.
It's funny, for a long time, the Bulldogs, when they were doing well, they weren't scoring many points, and it was tough to watch them a lot of the time, like the James Graham years and stuff like that. But I think they've really come good, and they're an exciting team to watch. They're an exciting team to get around as well, just with the characters.
Because of what they're doing with their in defence too, they're earning a lot of respect as well.
I agree, and it's not shit footy to watch either.
No.
I remember Melbourne winning their premierships off defence. It was wrestle. They slowed the game down a lot. I think at this point in time, if you do concentrate on defence, then you are kind of earning the right, because the wrestle is it's kind of been moved out of the game quite a bit because of the 6 again rule. And I think if you do well in defence these days, you will get a lot of respect, because good defensive side is... You can be a good attacking side, no doubt, but a good defensive side is really hard to come by.
Yeah, it's just like the comments I think Stephen Crichton on the weekend said, we'd rather save a try than score one. That's good mentality, I think.
The bite.
Oh, yeah.
What are your thoughts on the Flanagan bite on Stephen Crichton?
I love some of the headlines that have come out of it where, Man bites dog was one of them. Another one which I saw great from the Daily Telegraph was Flannable Lecter, which I thought that was pretty great too. Yeah, look, I at the time didn't really see much of it, except that Crichton had his nose did look swollen and a bit bloody. It looked like a weird bloody nose. And then when you heard there was that report, and then you seen the things after the game, and just it sort of get caught in there for a bit and pulled up. And then sort of watching 360, I sort of maybe share a little bit of Buzz's sentiments. Like
I think so too.
I'm a Stephen Crichton fan, so if I had to just pick one of them, I was just going to be biased on one of them because I like one more than the other. I like Stephen Crichton more than Flanagan, so I'd sit in his corner just for that reason. But look, at the end of the day, he still got Flanagan still bit him, but Crichton was rubbing his face all over it, and his nose was there. And I mean, if you put your nose in my mouth, the first thing I'm going to do is move my head away. But
he couldn't do that.
He couldn't do that. His head was on the ground. So maybe the next thing, if I don't want your nose in my mouth or anyone's nose in my mouth, you know what I mean? And maybe he just thought with the mouth guard there too, he wasn't trying to bite it off. I don't know. I'm not trying to.
I agree.
Biting's a pretty dog act in any scenario. I think it's pretty low, but I think there's always circumstances to understand. Maybe if you put yourself in that situation.
I 100% agree with you. What I think is, his nose was in his mouth. He had nowhere to go. I don't think he intentionally bit because he had nothing else to do. I just think when you're in that situation, you're uncomfortable. A lot of people, they're around you, you're uncomfortable. Like, I think it's a natural reaction to be tense and to tense your whole body. Yeah. You're also tensing your jaw if something comes, if something comes in your mouth, you're like, oh crap, I don't want this to go down my throat, because he would have thought fuck, if a finger goes down my throat, I feel like I'm going to choke. It's in a very claustrophobic situation. I don't think...
Very quick though, wasn't it? Like when you look at it slow-mo, it looks like he had to deal with his nose in there for an eternity. But when you watch the tackle, you kind of look and go, how did he have a chance to even bite him?
I just think once it went in his nose, he was like, oh, and then just clinched. And
very quick.
That's my thoughts. And
has there been a ruling on it yet?
I think it's tonight. It got referred straight to the judiciary, but I really hope he doesn't cop a suspension, because I don't think
it's a tough one.
I don't think he was in the wrong.
But then again, I don't know. There seems like this. We had this recently with maybe the Jack Whiten thing. I think it was the last biter, and I think at the time we also were trying to find reasons to justify. There was, he put whatever he put in there.
I think there's a lot more justification for this one. Yeah. The Dolphins beat the Warriors 34-32, and Sean O'Sullivan take a bow. Jesus Christ. I didn't know he could strike them like that.
Yeah, we've just been hanging out with Nath for a year. That was a good moment for him. Good on him. There was a huge win for him, and they needed it too. They were a bit under the pump, the Finns.
Yep. That puts them into the 8 with the Dragons dropping out. That puts them to 26 points, and they're in on for and against. Both have the Dragons have a bit of an easier draw coming up. The Dolphins have a pretty tough draw, so it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Newcastle are the dark horse, I reckon, because they're only one win behind them both. So Newcastle have a few easy games. They got the Cronulla Sharks this weekend,
and you got Canberra as well, I guess. Because they're always gritty.
Yeah, it's a hot field. Yeah. And I think that's why Canberra's a danger game for the Cowboys this week.
Yeah.
I think it's really going to be
I think they're both must-win games, to be honest, because when I looked at the Cowboys, they've got this game against the Raiders. Then they go into a bye, I think.
Yep.
And then I reckon... I can't remember do you have that, who they have for the last 2 games?
Who?
The Cowboys. Let me just bring it up. 26 Cowboys. I remember looking at it. Okay, so they've got Melbourne. That's Yep. And then they go the final round, the Dogs. So
Melbourne are actually tipped to rest their players.
But you never know. Maybe things change if the result goes differently this weekend, considering they hadn't planned to have losses.
If Melbourne win this week, then
or stick to the plan.
It's good for the Cowboys. Yeah. But if they don't,
but even still, even if they don't rest the Storm, we're still probably going to have some sort of systems in place, and maybe they don't rest all of them. They just rest key ones here and there. But still, like if the Cowboys don't get this win, they get the win next week, but that might be their only 2 points for the rest of the year, and the 4 games they've got is the bye. So I think this one will give them a lot of confidence. Chalk as it's a 4-point victory, getting the bye next week as well. So I think it's a must win for the Cowboys, even just as much as the Raiders, who are outside.
The Newcastle Knights defeat the West Tigers 34-18. Done exactly what they need to do. Kalen Ponga having an absolute field day. Fletcher Sharp, 4 tries. Could have got 5. I'm really excited to see how the Knights finish up this year. I think they showed signs. I think they've still got a long way to go. But
I don't think they showed enough signs for me. I think they needed to...
They needed to put them away, didn't they?
Yeah, more so. I think Ponga there was a lot of lucky moments as well, like that kick.
It was a good
knocked
try,
on.
though.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Between the two of them, the skill that they both showed there was fantastic. But yeah, 34-18, as I was sort of saying in the Supercoach potty before, I think when they play sides that are better than the Tigers, even though they still do have a good run, Sharks tougher this week, outside of that bit easier games, but they're better than the Tigers, the other opponents they're playing, so I think it might be a bit closer than 34-18, and still not going to be easy for them, I don't think.
I guess if they come out and beat the Sharks this week, then different conversation
Big confidence
next
boost,
week.
for sure.
But I think we were saying that last week. Like, it's exactly what Newcastle needed, just to get a win against a side like the Tigers.
Yeah.
And then hopefully that can roll on and have a knock-on effect. All right, sweet. One more bit of news before we move on. NRL is set to release a NRL Combine style event on Grand Final day.
They've been, we've been begging for this, the NRL community for so long. I think the 100-metre race, at least, that's what we want.
100%. I think the 100-metre race is goal kicking, kicking distance, kicking height. I think it's going to be so good.
How do they measure the kicking height?
I don't know if they're doing height. It might be length. But
I think the goal kicking's a bit like it's
I
kind of
like the goal kick.
it's a little bit fun, but that's kind of just got the sort of effect of when Andrew Johns or Cameron Smith just come on at halftime and try kick and hit a corner post. Like I don't know, like goal kicking. I feel like the race has got the real wow factor. Goal kicking
for sure.
Yeah, but still, why not add more spectacle? I'm not shitting on it altogether, the goal kicking stuff, but I think 100-metre races, mad.
I just think enough to feel like a half an hour to an hour slot is going to be mad.
So basically, anyone who's in the conversation could compete for, as long as they're not in the grand. You wouldn't be racing your grand finals, would you?
But like say it's Penrith and the Roosters, the only one that would be missing out there,
Dom potentially,
Dom Young.
Yeah.
But Manly are probably going to make the grand final. So
they could,
Cooler.
Saab out.
Cooler, Saab, and I think Saab will win.
Yeah, I think Khan Pereira's possible.
Hot chance, yeah.
Savage is quick. You know who else is? Dean Mariner. Like, he's small and very short, but just like when you just watch like Walshy put a kick through for him, he's off his head how fast he is. I don't know whether he can maintain it over 100. Maybe that's where he over short.
I reckon Talon De Silva.
The little eyebrow fella. It took me a while to think who you were talking about then.
Yeah. I was going to see if you would just agree with me or not, but eyebrow fella, that's a good...
Yeah.
I actually got my eyebrows done today.
His eyebrows are real neat, aren't they?
Oh, they're nice. They're thick. I got my eyebrows done today for the first time.
Did you?
Yeah. Can you tell
I'm not trying to have a go at you. What did you get done to them?
Oh, just like the
they're getting a bit bushy or something like
that?
Yeah,
they were just getting bushy, so I needed to... but it hurt.
Bit of manscape.
It hurt.
Yeah. Plucking hair is no good.
No, they didn't pluck it. They got like a piece of string and scraped my face. Yeah. It was, it hurt so much. You know how girls walk out of getting it done and their face is like red? That was my face. All right. Blind rank these fullbacks on form. This year's form.
Blind rank, there's only going to be 5 of them, right? Obviously, yeah. All right, cool. Prepping.
Ryan Pappenhausen.
4.
James Tedesco.
2.
Tom Trbojevic.
3.
Dylan Edwards.
1.
Scott Drinkwater.
5. I'm pretty happy with that.
Yeah?
I'm encompassing State of Origin as well, probably including that for Dill. Tough between Teddy and Turbo. Teddy's been super, super consistent, but Turbo's kind of really been... It's only the last 3 weeks it's really been incredible out of your mind. I mean, he's been consistent for the start of the year as well. Pappy, bit plagued by injury in and out. Scotty Drinkwater feel probably a bit tough putting him at 5 maybe still.
But he's been good this year.
Yeah, he's been very good at times particularly. But maybe when he hasn't been as great, he's been a victim of his side not going as good as well. So, yeah, not too unhappy with that. Would you have...
No... Probably would have put Teddy at 1, to be honest.
Yeah, I felt a little bit awkward about that, maybe from just an NRL point of view, if we're talking about season without including...
But, the games Dylan Edwards has played,
Yeah, elite, 100%.
Yeah.
And he earned that spot of origin, but that's maybe also a part of the changing of the guard as well, because Teddy wasn't going that bad. It was more that New South Wales needed to try something different as well, a part of him earning that. Do you want me to play my game now, or do you want me to wait?
Okay,
Play another one?
just one more quickly.
Yeah.
There's 14 players in the NRL that played on the weekend, starting with the word T. Name as many as you can.
Start like their first name's T.
First name starts with T.
Terrell Sloan.
Yes.
Tyson Gamble.
Yep.
Tyrone Wishart.
Yep.
There's another. Oh no, May was on the bye. Tamari Martin.
Yep. I love how you got Tyson Gamble. He's also got a teammate. He's also named.
Oh, Tyson Fazarell. Fazell. Yep. Tane Milne.
Yep.
I feel like I want to keep going because I'm doing okay, but I'm also like just want to take them because I've got enough and I don't want to drag it out.
No, you've done all right.
Yeah. What else is there?
Tom Trebojevic.
Oh yeah, double T. That was triple points for that.
You got 6. Tom Trebojevic, Tom Burgess, Tui Kamika.
Yeah.
Trent Liero, Taniola Paseka, Tommy Talau, Tom Starling, Tom Eisenhuth.
Wow, yeah.
Toby Sexton, Tom Arley, Talon De Silva, and I'll put Taron May there, but he didn't play on the weekend. But yeah, good job. I think you've done better than what I would have done. To
I
be
like
honest.
that. You play a game with the family around Christmas time called we call it boy girl country animal, and it's where you got to think of you roll, pick a letter. It's like letter M, and then you've got to think of you roll timer. And then everyone's got to think of a girl's name that starts with them, a boy's name that starts with them, a country that starts with them. It's really fun, and that felt a little bit like that. So thanks for giving me a little nostalgia there. I'm overheating, so I might take my jumper off, but I'm also very conscious that I might take my shirt off as well at the same stage. And yeah, I think I might just take the sweat option and just sweat through the podcast rather than end up shirtless. I'm not really packing at the moment. So, all right, yeah, my game. Let's get to that. I'm a little bit excited about my game. So this is who wins in a biff, fullback edition. Jai Gray or Keanu Kinney?
Oh, Jai Gray, I reckon. Short, stocky. He's got a bit about him, I reckon.
Jai Gray or KO Weeks?
KO Weeks. I think the ratty. If you've got a ratty, it
means pretty bad. They've got an element about him.
If you've got a ratty, it means your Eshe level is above 100.
Cool, I like it. KO Weeks or Tyrrell Sloan?
KO Weeks. Tyrrell Sloan walks around like he's going to bash someone, but he's probably that annoying guy at school that probably gets bashed himself. I hate to say that because I reckon he's a legend.
Yeah. Okay, so KO Weeks or Reece Walsh?
Oh, I reckon Reece Walsh, a lot of people would pick on him and he'd have a bit of experience in the field.
He's a pretty boy. He needs
pretty build, but KO Weeks.
Okay, KO Weeks or Will Kennedy?
Will Kennedy looks like he grew up in the sticks. Probably has a bit about him. KO Weeks.
Ooh, KO Weeks or Connor Tracy?
KO Weeks.
KO Weeks or Dream Buller?
KO Weeks.
KO Weeks or Scott Drinkwater?
KO Weeks.
KO Weeks or The Hammer?
The Hammer. Just too rangy, too quick. I reckon his punches would be so quick.
The Hammer or Ryan Pappenhausen?
The Hammer.
The Hammer or Kalen Ponga?
The Hammer.
The Hammer or James Tedesco?
Teddy would probably look for the police and kind of argue that he's trying to fight him. So I'll go the Hammer.
That's funny. Okay, the Hammer or King Gutho?
The Hammer.
The Hammer or Dylan Edwards?
The Hammer. Dylan Edwards is way too nice.
Yeah, I reckon he's still got the dog in him. Have you seen him?
Yeah,
He's got the dog. All right. The Hammer or CNK?
Oh, CNK. Bloody Maori. Come on, bro.
CNK or Tommy Turbo?
Tommy Turbo. He's got the tripod of a bloody absolute Greek god.
Tommy Turbo or Latrell Mitchell?
Latrell Mitchell would pump everyone.
Yeah, Latrell bashes them all, doesn't he? Yeah.
I love that. That was
Good one. Yeah. I'll bring the fullback, maybe the winger edition to you next week.
The front rower edition will
be fun one,
will
yeah.
go off. But going through all the front rowers, hot tip. I reckon Terrell May absolutely.
Maybe I'll just pick the alpha from each side rather than the each prop.
That's a good one. I reckon Terrell May would win. Just
Yeah,
thinking,
he's
but then you'll do the this or that.
got the
then,
brothers to fight as well.
Yeah.
They're growing up with. And yeah.
All right, cheers for tuning
Massive
in, lads.
Massive rat.
Hmm?
Terrell May, massive rat.
Rat.
His rat tail's massive.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Lad level 100.
Yeah.
All right, cheers guys for tuning in. We'll see you next week.